Before a woman can truly love herself, she must first understand her worth. Self-love without self-worth is fragile. It depends on moods, complex external validation. But self-worth is deeper. It is the quiet, unshakable belief that I matter even when no one is clapping for me. When a woman builds self-worth, love becomes natural, not forced. Many people say, love yourself more, but they forget to ask an important question. On what foundation is that love built? If a woman does not believe she deserves respect, peace, and growth, then self-love becomes temporary. One bad relationship, one rejection, or one harsh comment can destroy it. That is why self-worth must come first. It is the root, self-love is the fruit. Self-worth means knowing your value without needing permission from others. It means understanding that your worth is not decided by your relationship status, your appearance, your age, or your past mistakes. Society often teaches women to tie their value to how useful they are to others, how much they give, how quiet they stay, how much they tolerate. But a high-value woman realizes that her worth is inherent. She does not have to earn it by suffering. When self-worth is missing, a woman starts accepting what she should never tolerate. She stays in places where she is disrespected, overworks herself to prove she is enough, and keeps lowering her standards out of fear of being alone. She may smile on the outside, but inside, she is constantly asking, am I enough now? Self-love in such a state becomes performative, spa days, affirmations, and positive quotes. But the core wound remains untouched. True self-worth changes the way a woman moves through life. She no longer begs for attention because she understands that attention without respect is empty. She no longer over-explains herself because she trusts her own judgment. She no longer feels guilty for saying no because she knows her time and energy are valuable. This is not arrogance, this is clarity. A woman with self-worth does not abandon herself to keep others comfortable. She does not silence her needs to avoid conflict. She understands that peace bought by self-betrayal is not peace at all. When she chooses herself, it is not selfish, it is necessary. Because how can someone pour into the world when they are constantly draining themselves? Self-worth also teaches a woman to stop chasing validation. Compliments become pleasant, not essential. Criticism becomes information, not identity. She listens, she learns, but she does not collapse. Her sense of value comes from alignment with her values, not from people's opinions. This is powerful because opinions change, trends fade, and people come and go, but character remains. When a woman knows her worth, her standards rise naturally. She no longer asks, will they like me? She asks, do they align with me? She becomes selective, not because she thinks she is better than others, but because she respects herself too much to settle for less. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her heart, her body, her energy, or her time. Self-worth is also closely connected to responsibility. A high-value woman does not blame the world for everything. She reflects, she grows. She learns from her mistakes without shaming herself. She understands that worth does not mean perfection. It means accountability with compassion. She allows herself to evolve without constantly punishing herself for who she used to be. Many women struggle with self-worth because they were taught to seek approval early in life. Good girl behavior, people-pleasing, overgiving, These patterns may look like kindness, but often they come from a fear of rejection. When self-worth is healed, kindness remains, but people-pleasing disappears. The woman gives from fullness, not from fear. A woman grounded in self-worth does not rush love. She does not confuse intensity with intimacy. She is willing to wait because she knows that being alone is far better than being undervalued. Loneliness no longer scares her because she enjoys her own company. And this is the irony. When a woman stops chasing love, she becomes more magnetic to it. Self-worth is built through daily choices, choosing honesty over comfort, choosing rest over burnout, choosing growth over familiarity, choosing to walk away when something feels wrong, even if walking away hurts. Each time a woman honors herself, she strengthens the foundation of her worth. Over time, this becomes her natural state. When self-worth is solid, self-love stops being an effort. It becomes a lifestyle. The woman eats better, not to punish her body, but to respect it. She speaks kindly to herself, not because a quote told her to, but because she believes she deserves kindness. She dreams bigger, not because she wants to prove something, but because she trusts herself to handle more. So remember this: self-love is beautiful, but self-worth is powerful. Love can fluctuate, worth must remain steady. When a woman knows her worth, she does not ask the world to treat her better, she simply refuses to accept less. And that decision alone changes everything. Setting boundaries without guilt is one of the clearest signs of a high-value woman, because it shows she understands the difference between being kind and being available at the cost of her own peace. Many women are taught from a young age that saying no is rude, that putting themselves first is selfish, and that keeping everyone happy is their responsibility. Over time, this conditioning creates guilt. Whenever they try to protect their time, energy, or emotions, a high-value woman unlearns this. She realizes that boundaries are not walls to shut people out, but filters to protect what matters most. Guilt often appears when a woman starts valuing herself more. She may feel uncomfortable the first few times she says no, cancels plans, or refuses to tolerate behavior she once ignored. This discomfort does not mean she is doing something wrong. It means she is doing something new. For years, her worth may have been measured by how much she gave, how flexible she was, and how much she sacrificed. When she begins to change that pattern, the mind reacts with guilt because it is unfamiliar territory. A high-value woman understands that boundaries are a form of self-respect. They communicate how she expects to be treated without aggression or apology. She does not need to raise her voice, argue, or explain her entire life story. A simple, calm response is enough. She trusts that the right people will understand and the wrong people will reveal themselves. This clarity saves her from unnecessary emotional exhaustion. One of the biggest myths around boundaries is that they push people away. In reality, boundaries only push away those who benefit from having none. People who respect you will adjust. People who don't will resist, guilt trip, or accuse you of changing. A high-value woman recognizes this reaction as information, not a reason to step back into old patterns. She understands that discomfort in others is not a reason to abandon herself. Setting boundaries also requires emotional maturity. It means accepting that you cannot control how others feel about your decisions. A high-value woman does not take responsibility for emotions that are not hers. She can be compassionate without being responsible. She can listen without fixing. She can care without carrying. This balance allows her to remain kind while still protecting her inner peace. Guilt often comes from the fear of being misunderstood or disliked. A high-value woman accepts that being respected is more important than being liked. She knows that approval built on self-betrayal is not real approval. If someone only values her when she overextends, stays silent, or tolerates disrespect, that connection is not rooted in love or respect. It is rooted in convenience. Boundaries also change the way a woman shows up in relationships. Instead of resentment building silently, she communicates early. Instead of hoping someone will change, she responds to patterns. She does not wait until she is emotionally drained to speak up. This honesty creates healthier dynamics because expectations are clear from the beginning. Where clarity exists, manipulation struggles to survive. A high-value woman also understands that boundaries apply not only to others, but to herself. She sets limits on overworking, overthinking, and self-criticism. She does not allow her mind to constantly replay guilt or self-doubt. She catches herself when she starts abandoning her own needs for temporary comfort. This internal boundary is just as important as external ones. There will be moments when setting boundaries feels lonely. Walking away from familiar patterns can feel like loss, even when those patterns were unhealthy. A high-value woman allows herself to grieve without going back. She understands that growth sometimes requires temporary solitude. She trusts that what she is making space for is healthier than what she left behind. Over time, guilt fades. Confidence grows. The nervous system learns that saying no does not lead to disaster. Peace replaces anxiety. A woman who once felt anxious about disappointing others begins to feel proud of honoring herself. Her energy shifts. People interact with her differently because she interacts with herself differently. Setting boundaries without guilt is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming honest and grounded. A high-value woman still loves deeply, but she loves wisely. She gives generously, but not endlessly. She helps others, but not at the cost of her own well-being. She understands that burnout is not a badge of honor. When a woman holds her boundaries with calm consistency, she teaches others how to treat her. She no longer needs to demand respect, her behavior commands it. Her life becomes lighter, her relationships clearer, and her sense of self stronger. She sleeps better, she thinks clearer, she breathes easier. In the end, boundaries are an act of self-trust. They say, I believe my needs matter. A high-value woman does not feel guilty for protecting her peace because she knows that a peaceful woman is a powerful woman. And from that place of peace, she can show up in the world as her best, most authentic self, without apology. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people think silence means weakness, fear, or the inability to speak up. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful tools a high-value woman can possess. It is not the silence of suppression. It is the silence of self-control. It is the ability to pause, observe, and choose a response rather than reacting impulsively. In a world that constantly demands noise, opinions, and explanations, silence becomes a form of strength. A high-value woman understands that not every situation deserves her words. Words carry energy, and where energy goes, attention follows. When she speaks unnecessarily, argues with people who are committed to misunderstanding her, or defends herself against baseless opinions, she drains her own emotional reserves. Silence, in such moments, is not avoidance, it is discernment. She knows when her voice will create value and when it will only feed chaos. Many conflicts escalate because of the need to be right. Ego pushes people to prove, explain, and justify themselves endlessly. A high-value woman does not engage in this cycle. She recognizes that clarity does not always come from louder explanations. Sometimes, the most powerful message is communicated through calm withdrawal. Her silence forces others to confront their own behavior without her having to point it out. Silence also protects emotional dignity. When a woman reacts immediately in anger, hurt, or frustration, she often reveals more than she intends to. Words spoken in emotional moments cannot be taken back. A high-value woman gives herself time. She lets emotions settle before deciding whether a response is necessary at all. This pause preserves her self-respect and prevents regret. In relationships, silence can be a mirror. When someone disrespects, manipulates, or crosses boundaries, immediate confrontation is not always required. Sometimes reduced access, less availability, and emotional distance communicate more clearly than long explanations. A high-value woman understands that people learn not from what is said once, but from patterns that consistently remain. Silence also shows confidence. A woman who constantly explains herself often does so because she doubts her own decisions. A high-value woman trusts her judgment. She does not feel the need to announce her plans, justify her choices, or convince others of her truth. She moves quietly, lets results speak, and allows her actions to build her credibility. There is also a deep spiritual and emotional intelligence in silence. It allows a woman to observe people beyond their words. When she listens more than she speaks, she notices patterns, intentions, and inconsistencies. Silence sharpens intuition. It creates space for wisdom to arise. Instead of reacting to surface level behavior, she understands the deeper motivations at play. A high-value woman also uses silence to protect her peace. She does not engage in gossip, unnecessary drama, or emotionally charged conversations that lead nowhere. She understands that not every message requires a reply, and not every disrespect requires a reaction. Her calm presence unsettles chaos because chaos thrives on reaction. Silence is also a form of emotional boundary. It says, "I am not available for this energy." Instead of arguing with negativity, she steps away from it. Instead of trying to change someone's mind, she allows them to remain where they are. This detachment is not coldness, it is emotional maturity. In moments of criticism or judgment, silence allows a woman to separate feedback from noise. She reflects internally before responding externally. If the criticism is valid, she learns. If it is not, she releases it. Silence gives her that space. She does not internalize every opinion as truth. There are times when silence speaks louder than confrontation. When a woman stops explaining herself to people who never listened, it sends a clear message. When she no longer reacts to provocation, it removes power from those seeking control. When she stops arguing with disrespect, it signals self-respect. Silence shifts the dynamic without a single word. However, this silence is intentional, not passive. A high-value woman still speaks when it matters. She addresses issues that require clarity, honesty, and resolution. Her silence is not fear-based, it is choice-based. She chooses peace over proving, dignity over drama, and wisdom over impulsiveness. Silence also allows growth. When a woman is constantly speaking, defending, and reacting, she has little space to reflect. Silence creates inner awareness. It helps her understand her own triggers, patterns, and emotions. From this awareness, she evolves. In a noisy world, silence becomes magnetic. People notice a woman who is calm, composed, and unbothered. Her presence feels grounded. She does not chase attention because she understands her value is not dependent on being seen or heard all the time. This quiet confidence makes her powerful. Ultimately, silence is not about withholding communication, it is about mastering it. A high value woman knows that her words are valuable, and therefore she uses them wisely. She speaks with intention, listens with awareness, and remains silent with strength. And in that silence, she protects her peace, preserves her dignity, and commands respect without saying a word. Emotional control is often misunderstood as emotional suppression, but the two are very different. Suppression means denying or ignoring emotions, while control means understanding them, accepting them, and choosing how to respond. A high-value woman does not pretend she is unaffected by life. She feels deeply, but she does not allow her feelings to control her actions. This balance is what makes emotional control a true form of strength. In moments of stress, conflict, or disappointment, emotions rise naturally. Anger, sadness, fear, or frustration are human responses. A high-value woman does not judge herself for feeling these emotions. Instead, she observes them. She asks herself where they are coming from and what they are trying to communicate. By doing this, she prevents emotions from turning into impulsive reactions that may later bring regret. Many people react emotionally because they want immediate relief. Saying something harsh, raising one's voice, or making a dramatic decision can feel satisfying in the moment, but it often creates long-term damage. A high-value woman understands this cost. She values long-term peace over short-term emotional release. Her strength lies in her ability to pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with her values. Emotional control also protects a woman's dignity. When emotions take over, people tend to reveal vulnerabilities to those who may not deserve access to them. A high-value woman is careful with her emotional exposure. She does not overshare with people who have not earned her trust. She understands that privacy is power and that not everyone needs to know what she is feeling in the moment. In relationships, emotional control creates stability. Instead of reacting to every trigger, she communicates with clarity. She does not use emotions as weapons or tools for manipulation. When something hurts her, she expresses it calmly. When she is disappointed, she addresses it without blame. This approach reduces conflict and builds mutual respect. Emotional control also helps a woman recognize when something is not worth her emotional investment. Not every comment deserves a reaction. Not every disagreement deserves energy. A high-value woman chooses her battles wisely. She understands that her emotional energy is limited and precious. Where she invests it determines the quality of her life. One of the greatest benefits of emotional control is inner confidence. When a woman knows she can handle her emotions, she stops fearing difficult situations. She trusts herself to stay composed under pressure. This self-trust makes her resilient. Even when things go wrong, she knows she will not fall apart. Emotional control also prevents others from controlling her. People who react emotionally are easy to manipulate. A high value woman does not give that power away. She does not allow provocation to dictate her behavior. Her calmness becomes a shield. It protects her from unnecessary drama and emotional games. This strength is built over time. Emotional control does not happen overnight. It develops through self-awareness, reflection, and practice. Each time a woman chooses calm over chaos, she strengthens this skill. Each time she responds instead of reacts, she builds emotional intelligence. A high-value woman also understands that emotional control includes self-compassion. She does not shame herself for moments when emotions get the better of her. Instead of self-criticism, she reflects and learns. Growth, not perfection, is her goal. This compassionate approach allows her to improve without losing confidence. Emotional control also influences decision-making. When emotions are intense, judgment becomes clouded. A high-value woman avoids making important decisions while emotionally overwhelmed. She waits until clarity returns. This patience protects her from choices driven by fear, loneliness, or anger. In challenging situations, her calm presence becomes reassuring. People trust her judgment because she does not act impulsively. She becomes someone others look to in moments of crisis. This leadership quality is a natural result of emotional mastery. Emotional control also brings peace. Life will always have challenges, but a woman who can regulate her emotions experiences less internal chaos. She feels grounded even during uncertainty. This inner stability allows her to move through life with grace. Ultimately, emotional control is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming balanced and intentional. A high-value woman allows herself to feel fully, but she chooses to act wisely. Her emotions inform her, not rule her. This is why emotional control is real strength. It gives her power over herself, and that power changes everything. Emotional control is real strength because it allows a woman to remain grounded even when life tries to shake her. Strength is not about never feeling overwhelmed, hurt, or angry. It is about not allowing those emotions to dictate your behavior. A high-value woman understands that emotions are signals, not commands. She listens to them, but she does not surrender her power to them. In emotionally charged moments, most people react first and think later. Words spill out, decisions are rushed, and damage is done before clarity arrives. A high-value woman creates space between feeling and acting. That pause is her power. It allows her to step back, breathe, and ask herself whether her next move will protect her peace or sabotage it. This pause may look simple, but it takes immense inner discipline. She understands that reacting emotionally often gives control to others. When someone can provoke you and change your mood, they temporarily own your emotional state. A high-value woman does not allow that. She refuses to hand over her inner balance to someone else's behavior. Calmness becomes her shield, not because she is unaffected, but because she is self-aware. Emotional control also means not turning every feeling into a reaction. Feeling hurt does not require hurting back. Feeling angry does not require shouting. Feeling disappointed does not require dramatic exits or impulsive decisions. A high-value woman knows that emotions pass, but consequences often stay. She protects her future self by managing her present emotions. This strength becomes especially visible during conflict. Instead of escalating situations, she de escalates them. Instead of proving her point at all costs, she seeks clarity or chooses silence. She understands that winning an argument is meaningless if it costs her dignity. Her goal is not to dominate conversations, but to maintain self-respect. Emotional control also allows her to see situations clearly. When emotions are intense, perception becomes distorted. Fear exaggerates threats, anger magnifies disrespect, insecurity creates assumptions. A high-value woman waits until emotions settle before drawing conclusions. This clarity saves her from unnecessary pain and wrong judgments. She also knows when to step away. Emotional strength is not staying in conversations that drain you. It is knowing when to disengage. She does not try to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She does not chase closure from those who lack accountability. Walking away calmly is often stronger than staying and reacting. Emotional control also changes how she handles rejection and criticism. Instead of collapsing or becoming defensive, she evaluates. If there is truth, she grows. If there is projection, she releases it. Her identity is not fragile, it is rooted. She does not let one opinion define her value. A high-value woman understands that emotional control does not mean emotional isolation. She still feels deeply, loves intensely, and cares genuinely, but she chooses carefully where she places her emotional energy. She does not overinvest in people who are inconsistent or emotionally unsafe. Protecting her heart is not fear, it is wisdom. This strength also helps her remain composed under pressure. Whether it is a professional challenge, personal disappointment, or unexpected change, she does not panic easily. She trusts her ability to adapt. This self-trust reduces anxiety. When you know you can handle your emotions, life feels less threatening. Emotional control is also about self-talk. A high-value woman does not mentally attack herself during difficult moments. She does not spiral into self-blame or shame. Instead, she speaks to herself with firmness and compassion. She holds herself accountable without cruelty. This inner dialogue strengthens her resilience. She also understands timing. Not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Not every emotion needs instant expression. She waits for the right moment, the right tone, and the right setting. This patience makes her communication more effective and her presence more respected. Over time, emotional control becomes part of her identity. People notice that she does not get easily shaken. They sense her stability. This does not mean she is distant, it means she is grounded. Her calmness becomes contagious. Her presence feels safe. Emotional control also protects her from self-sabotage. Many poor decisions are made in emotional highs or lows. A high-value woman avoids making life-altering choices when emotions are intense. She allows clarity to return before acting. This habit alone changes the trajectory of her life. Ultimately, emotional control gives her freedom. She is no longer a prisoner of moods, triggers, or reactions. She chooses how she shows up. She chooses her responses. She chooses peace over chaos, dignity over drama, and wisdom over impulse. That is why emotional control is real strength. Not because it makes life easier, but because it makes her stronger. A high-value woman understands that comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose connection with herself. The moment she starts measuring her life against someone else's timeline, beauty, success, or achievements, she hands over her peace. Growth, on the other hand, brings her back home to herself. That is why she chooses to invest in becoming better rather than becoming bitter. Comparison often begins innocently. A scroll through social media, a conversation, or a passing comment can trigger thoughts of inadequacy. Someone seems more successful, happier, more confident, more loved. For many women, this turns into silent self-criticism. Why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? A high-value woman catches this pattern early. She reminds herself that what she sees is a highlight, not a full story. She knows that comparing her behind the scenes to someone else's edited moments is unfair and destructive. Growth requires honesty, while comparison feeds illusion. When a woman compares herself to others, she focuses on outcomes without understanding effort, context, or struggle. Growth shifts her attention inward. Instead of asking, "Why am I behind?" she asks, "What can I learn? What can I improve?" This mindset turns jealousy into curiosity and insecurity into motivation. A high-value woman understands that everyone is on a different path. Different backgrounds, responsibilities, opportunities, and challenges shape different journeys. She stops rushing her life to match someone else's pace. She realizes that arriving late to her own purpose is far worse than arriving slowly. Growth honors her timing. Comparison pressures her to betray it. When she invests in growth, she focuses on skills, discipline, and self-awareness. She reads, learns, reflects, and practices. She builds habits that support her future rather than obsessing over someone else's present. Even when progress feels slow, she stays consistent. She knows that quiet growth often creates the strongest foundations. Comparison also distorts self-worth. A woman may feel confident one moment and inadequate the next, simply because she measured herself against someone else. A high-value woman does not allow her confidence to fluctuate based on external reference points. Her sense of worth comes from effort, integrity, and alignment with her values. She evaluates herself based on how far she has come, not how far someone else appears to be. Growth also teaches patience. Results do not appear overnight. A high-value woman accepts this without frustration. She understands that mastery takes time and that shortcuts often lead to burnout or emptiness. She allows herself to be a beginner without shame. She celebrates small improvements because she knows they compound over time. When a woman focuses on growth, comparison loses its grip. She becomes too engaged in her own evolution to constantly monitor others. Her energy shifts from envy to purpose. She no longer asks, "Why them?" She asks, "What's next for me?" This shift brings clarity and peace. A high-value woman also limits exposure to environments that trigger unhealthy comparison. She is mindful of what she consumes mentally and emotionally. If certain content leaves her feeling inadequate or distracted, she steps back. This is not avoidance, it is self-respect. She chooses inputs that inspire growth, not insecurity. Growth also requires self-compassion. A woman who invests in growth understands that setbacks are part of the process. She does not punish herself for mistakes or delays. Instead of quitting, she adjusts. Instead of shaming herself, she learns. This kindness allows her to keep going when motivation fades. Comparison often creates competition where none is needed. A high value woman does not see other women as threats. She understands that someone else's success does not take away from her potential. Growth teaches abundance. There is room for many women to succeed, shine, and thrive. She supports others genuinely because she is secure in her own path. Investing in growth also builds inner confidence. Confidence that comes from effort is stable. It does not collapse when someone else achieves something impressive. It does not require constant reassurance. A woman who grows knows what she is capable of, even if the world has not seen it yet. Over time, this focus on growth changes how she views success. Success becomes personal, not performative. It is measured by progress, peace, and fulfillment, not applause. She no longer feels pressured to prove anything. She is too busy becoming. Ultimately, a high-value woman understands this truth. Comparison drains, growth nourishes. Comparison keeps her stuck in someone else's shadow. Growth helps her step into her own light. When she chooses growth consistently, she builds a life that feels meaningful, grounded, and authentic. And that choice, repeated daily, quietly transforms everything.